had some time to like think about the gameplay we've seen a fair amount, so I wanted to give some additional thoughts and with a little bit less giddiness, if possible, um, and look over the trailer again, some certain hotspots. One of the things I want to emphasize about this trailer is that it's like, or this gameplay preview, is this is designed for normies. I know I said that before, but let me just emphasize this. The trailer is like, oh, you have this cool armor, and there's a dragon that appears, and oh, you stabbed it in the eye, and there's this mysterious woman who offers you an accord, whatever that means, and there's a boss, and you play with your friends, and look at the spell effects. This is all designed. This is all designed to simply get people who aren't familiar with Elden Ring or FromSoft or Dark Souls or are like skeptical about it or whatever. It's to get the normies interested in the game. The FromSoft fans, like if you're watching this video, most likely, you go here. You don't go here. You go here, right? Because we're thinking like, well, how does crafting work in the game? Like exactly, right? Not like I hunt the animal and then I take the thing and make the throwing knives. I mean, like, what exactly are the implications of crafting from start to finish in the game? Is it like a gimmick that you do in the beginning of the game to get yourself out of deprived mode into armor set? Or will this be impactful throughout the rest of the game? I hope it is. If you're going to add something like this, you know, don't don't just sort of do it. Like go with it hard. It would be cool to have crafting and then like advanced crafting later in the game or whatever, however it works. FromSoft fans are looking at like, what are these stats? What exactly is mind? How do spells work? What are memory slots? They got to be spell slots, right? What is arcane and so on? How exactly does the roll work? What are like the thresholds of equip load and so on, right? These are the kinds of questions that we're actually asking. Um, but yeah, and I want to say this too. In summary, Elden Ring to me seems to be exactly what you would expect it to be. It's exactly, I think, what From fans want. It is big Dark Souls. We were expecting that. That's what we want. I'm totally. I if I try to nitpick really hard, it's really hard for me to nitpick this, and I can pick nits very well. I can nitpick very well. Um, and one of the weird things I've noticed is I've seen both the graphics look bad and they look amazing. I keep seeing these same two things, and I think what people are complaining about when they say it looks bad is they look at it and they kind of go, this is hard to see in this resolution. The resolution is a little bit weird in this video, but like the resolution of the game of any given asset isn't as like ultra crazy PlayStation 5 or whatever the latest GPU is. But people who say that it looks good is they see a shot like this. Let's see if I can find a shot or in the trailer. They see a shot like this, right? He goes up and they see this. They go boom. And there's this big juxtaposition between I'm just seeing rock and then I see the sky light up and there's this glowing tree that demands your attention. I mean, it's an understatement to say it demands your attention. It totally fills your eyes in your mind, and it's interesting. And what I think people are really saying whenever they say the graphics are good is it's just the presentation is so good and things are so interesting. One of the things that FromSoft does really well is like a sense of weight. When we have this shot here, it's like, you know, it's not it's just not just a castle. It's like in this valley, and then you have like these slanted rock formations on the side, and you have these lesser trees here, and the more you look at it, the more details you start finding to where it's even, you want to see what's in this building here, what's this over here, that's what my mind does. I made a video about the presentation of Dark Souls 2 in the first DLC, the Sunken Crown DLC, and because there's this huge change in quality when you get to that first DLC. That's what Miyazaki's A team is capable of, right? Dark Souls 2 base game, as you may be aware, it had development problems, and they had to like remake the game apparently in the last year, is what I heard about it, and it shows. The quality is very spotty. It's not very good. It's not FromSoft good. The DLCs come out, Miyazaki gets involved. Presumably, he has a team of people that he allocates their skills on and their energy and resources, and the DLCs are the best part of the game. They're long, they're interesting, there's way more thoughtful enemy design, so on and so forth. So I won't get into the details, but I addressed the weight phenomenon in that video. And this is what they're good at, right? They're good at weight when it comes to environment aspects, and they pull from these fantastic architecture in Europe that was built a long time ago, and they add these dark fantasy elements. I'm preaching to the choir. You get the idea. We jump around. I wonder if it's open world. Are these reoccurring events? The event is simple, right? You've got a wagon, you've got these giants, and this little scouting party or whatever, this escort party, and are they moving something from point A to point B? Do they just go in a circle, and whenever you come across them, you can like jump it, fight the bad guys, take the treasure? Does it respawn and keep coming out? Is it a one-time thing? If you get something special in there, is it time sensitive? It's like, oh, they're transporting the thing to the place. If you can get it, it's going to branch your story off. Like, these are a lot of questions that I have. My assumption would be that this is just one of the many mildly interesting things they put into the game to make the game kind of feel alive. If it's a repeating event, which I assume it is, then you're not going to do it more than like 5 times, right? You're going to see it like a couple times. You'll do it like, when you're on your third playthrough, you'll do it like once. When you're on your first playthrough, you'll go, oh, it's the caravan again. And you go up there and you get, oh, I got some materials. Okay, that's cool. But you're just going to, it'll be that sort of thing, I think. Way up here, I think he comes from behind this like pillar or something. Our little dragon boy. It's more like a wyvern. It's not really a... There he is. He comes out of the cloud. You can just barely see him right now. And this is a normie moment, right? It looks cool and everything, but like this is designed to get people's attention who don't play Dark Souls. Dragon comes in. We can't hear anything. He comes in. You hear that exact... I don't know what this sound is. I'd love for someone to explain this to me in the comments. It's like that slice kind of sound, and every enemy you kill in Dark Souls 1 and 3 makes that exact same sound. They make other sounds when they die, but they always make this slice sound. Even the bosses, I think. And it's just a notification in the back of your head that you got a kill, or something died, would be more accurate. It reminds me of an older game called Command & Conquer Renegade. This is a first-person shooter of a CNC. It was a first-person shooter set in the CNC universe. And when you played multiplayer, anytime you would kill, it had to be you. If you got the kill on an enemy, it would make this goofy, tiny little boink sound. It was like a little tiny pop boink sound. I can't really explain it. And I think the reason they did that was so it was really clear when you got the kill. You know, it was a sound that stuck out. It was very subtle, but it kind of hit your subconscious, like you knew whenever something would die. And it was always funny if you took the stealth tank, you could drive over enemies, and you were invisible, and you just go boink, 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 boink. That was always funny. It's that kind of sound, but of course it's a little less comical because it's like a slice sound. But that's the way it works, and we just hear it right there. And here's our normie fight, right? And this guy's got all kinds of stuff. He's got a presumably a fairly high, not level, but like late gear. Because his armor looks pretty cool, and he shoots some like soul dart looking things, and we're on our mount, and then he goes in for a little slice. He takes a couple hits here. Note this is like meant to be a boss that's like fairly early in the game, because while his attacks happen quickly, they're telegraphed very well. Those of you who died a million times on Nameless King will recognize the phenomenon of, as the game gets faster and faster, you get better at dodging, then they slow an enemy down and it becomes super hard because you're pre-rolling and so on. Really good telegraphs here. He blocks the attack. I think there's some screen shake when he hits the ground. I bet that has to do with his medium weight load status. Bump. He kind of hits the ground and does a little bumpy rolly thing, and there's a bit of screen shake there when he hits. He gets the block off here, and yeah, he goes in for a little throat slice here. Not bonus damage, just shows off the fact that you can attack while mounted. This is actually a really well timed roll, because this is like a charge heavy. I think it looks like a heavy he's charging, because the guy puts his face back down where you can hit it like pretty often. That's a tell. It's probably like a relatively. It's not gonna be an easy enemy, but it's like a lower, a fairly easy enemy. It's no Medeer, right? So he hits that guy, and notice that the character rolls out of the way here when the head comes down. So be wary of large beasts when they fumble over. It might actually hurt you or flatten you or something like that. You go in for the crit. What's that? Golden Grace? Who knows? Little eye crit there. Notice they cut away, and it's still standing on its 2 feet there. It's not dead. Maybe you injure it and it goes away and gets mommy. This is goofy. Nothing much to say here. We already mentioned about it. It's fun. Although I wonder if do you have to use a giant weapon? Is it a damage threshold? Can I just dagger him a bunch until he comes out? In the map, these are probably checkpoints that you get. These are the graces. This is actually pretty smart. So they just I'm sure there's other checkpoints that are off the beaten path. I assume that these gray spots that have these indicators. This is kind of weird here. It just kind of runs into this one, doesn't it? I didn't notice that before. And they're designed to keep you moving in a direction if you don't know where to go. Smart. Obviously, I'm going to walk this direction, right? I go here, I get to this first one, I'm going to go, what's over there? What's over there? What's above me? I'm going to be looking everywhere. It's going to be... My first playthrough is going to be forever. It's going to take me forever to finish the game, because I'm going to want to look over every little thing, probably.
Useful when exploring the world, and is populated by acquiring map fragments.
Presumably this is an uncollected map fragment, or it could be the edge of the world. I'm not really sure. If you remember Breath of the Wild, if you played Breath of the Wild, you would access these towers, and it would like reveal large areas of the map, and the towers were very large, and they were in different directions. You could like see them from really far away, and it was a good way to incentivize the player to move around because they kind of glowed a little bit. They were interesting. A lot of Breath of the Wild inspiration in this game, which is a good thing, because in terms of open world, let me qualify that. In terms of a grand world that is open in nature and you can explore it, taking pages from Breath of the Wild is really freaking smart. They show off the little markers here. This is smart. I'm touching my screen, you can't see it. This is smart. And when they place the beacon,
Of crafting materials.
this is also super smart, because if the world's big enough that you need beacons, you're in for a treat, right? Yeah, and we'll get to the another part. So your mount can double jump. Your mount jumps up a mile into the air with these springboards. They understand the frustrations in Breath of the Wild. They understand it. Because this is Miyazaki, in my opinion, this is Miyazaki acknowledging like they nailed it on Breath of the Wild, but let's tweak a few things. And the tweak was, we're not gonna have a realistic mount, so you don't get it stuck in some corner or on the side of a mountain or whatever. And you go, I want to get up there, and they just go, we're just gonna launch you up there, and you go, great, I love it. And yeah. Because it's not fun. It's not fun to scale a mountain in Zelda for 5 minutes and then get rained off the mountain. It's not.
Springs can be used while on horseback to launch high into the
Here's a question. Notice when he comes down with the Yakul / horse thing, doesn't hit the ground. He does a double jump. Does your mount take fall damage? Maybe you take fall damage, but your mount probably can't take damage. I would assume it's only you.
This allows for stress-free traversal of areas with a great deal of verticality.
And they say it right there. Stress-free traversal of areas with a great deal of verticality. They're calling it out. They're calling out Zelda hard right here. That's what I think it is. Don't know what that is. If you watch the trailer closely, there's a lot of materials he runs past. They also don't pick up any items except for that one from the little caravan that he assaults. This character here, I think, just right here, when he goes up into this little this thing right here, they show him picking up, but they don't reveal the item. I wonder if it's different because when you click an item in Souls, Dark Souls or Sekiro, you see what it is immediately. They may have modified the game not to show that, because if we see this, see, he prepares for it, he kills the baddies, gets the treasure. That's that classic animation we've seen 1,000 times. They cut out real quick. Either it was going to show up or they modified it. Now, this is where they prime themselves with this stuff. This is very interesting to me. This is an interesting kind of like, this is interesting, right? Sword, key, potion icon, and I don't know, chewing gum. It's all the different miscellaneous stuff. Again, how important, can't think of the words. Yeah, how important is crafting to the game in general, not initially. I want to know in general. I also believe that these enemies are designed to like basically like this is like a way over-leveled character. They never show your health, the health in any of this preview that I'm aware of. He kills like every enemy in like 1 or 2 hits. He guard breaks in like 1 or 2 hits. It's that is designed to appease. See this is a new mechanic actually. This is something we should talk about. He jumps down. It's not like a drop attack, but the game must know when you have heavy weapon plus I'm falling on my opponent, and it does like a certain kind of stagger damage of some sort, because this character, you hear the guard break sound and he gets a riposte off, and this is the Dark Souls 3 basically riposte situation here. Enemy stance can be broken with heavy attacks, heavy strikes. Posture, is there a stance mechanic? Stamina and stance, health and stance only. They don't show the UI, right?
Stance can be broken, such as when attacking from above. A variety of unique attacks can also be interchanged between weapons.
This is a money shot right here. I didn't notice this first. I saw this somewhere else. He hits the shield. The guy does a thrust. Now, the question here, and then he does a little spinneroo into an attack. The question here is, did that give him iframes, or was it simply the hitbox not hitting his body? I want to know these things. This guy has a tower shield, right? So you know that this character's like super over leveled, or they like modify the enemy to be extra weak, because he hits once on the shield, and then second time 2 hits only, and he's immediately guard broken. So again, this is a normie thing where it's like, all right, we're gonna make you look cool. You kill enemies in like 2 hits. Probably won't be that way in the game. And then this is just I don't know what this is. This is a page out of Pokemon. I don't know what this is all about. Think about the fact that you can summon these things. We don't know what the cost is. Like maybe you have to like fight enemies and you slowly build up a meter, and that's like your summon meter, and then when you summon it, it just depletes, and you can only do it like once every so often, based on combat achieving combat. In one of the shots, the first thought is, does this make the game too easy? And if you've played, if you play Dark Souls 3, for example, and you summon for basically any boss or any area, it's easy mode. That's the reality. It makes the game way easier. And you can have it to like 4 people cruising around, and I think 2 invaders, right? Something along those lines. Even though they account for it to some amount, because they increase the health, and I think the damage. I don't think the damage gets increased. I'm not really sure about that. I know the health gets increased on enemies and bosses, but it's and the bosses get like, it's like an additional 100% per player, and enemies is like a little bit more. It doesn't matter. Like you can go to Pontiff Solivan, and you can have 4 players on there, and he's just like almost perma-stunned. Like it totally removes the challenge. So presumably when you bring these characters in, these spirits, whatever these are, it's going to make the game easier. This opens a can of worms. First thing is, number 1 is like, well, is the game not so hardcore anymore? Or 2, does the game account for this in some way? Is there endgame content that's designed for 2 or more players? That would be amazing, by the way. I hope they do that. Later, we see a shot with... What's her name again? Let's find out. Here she is.
Traveler from beyond the fog.
Listen carefully.
I am Melina.
Melina. I kept wanting to call her Melania. She says, I offer you an accord. Bow. Look at my weird eye.
I offer you an accord.
What if you reject it? Is that hard mode? Maybe if you don't, maybe there's like a certain kind of like nobility or divinity that you can reject as a tarnished, and you can't summon spirits, and maybe you can't summon friends, or like the world is harder, and that's like the hardcore mode. And if you accept the chord and you summon spirits and you go co-op, that's like the normie mode, which would be cool because then everyone can play the game. But given the fact that it's a FromSoft game, they need to give the bragging rights to people who reject the accord or go to the hard mode or whatever the standard mode is. That's like normal Dark Souls style, and they could either give a special cosmetic, or you could have content that's locked behind, like it's locked out because you have to not be associated with her or whatever, in order to access that content. That would be very interesting in my opinion.
Let me stop you.
So he does this, he gets his treasure. Fantastic shot, by the way. Who's that NPC right here? Is this guy roasting marshmallows? Look at this guy right here. Is that an instrument? I can't tell what that is. He's got some like, I don't know what it is. It's something goofy, we know that much. We summon her friend. She jumps down, and they add what? A voice line. So no more no more carvings that say thank you, I'm sorry. Although those are hilarious. I hope they're in the game still. But I wonder if they'll add voice chat. local voice chat. Isn't that in Dark Souls 2? I think it's in Dark Souls 2, isn't it? I think I've heard it before. This is absolutely fall damage, by the way. Does it jump? That's taking some damage, I think. A little bit.
Look, this forest, so we'll use stealth to avoid detection.
Look at the shadows in the light. I think the shadows in the light here are really good. I like this forest. It reminds me of the like the kind of fall-looking forest in Don't Starve for some reason, and I like that area. So this, look at that big tree. Oh my gosh, I didn't notice that big tree before. That's a humongous freaking tree right there. We got the weird thing with a tentacle face. Look at this thick with 2 C's and a K tree. Huh. And we cruise on.
We'll take it on co-op path.
We fight it. We stagger it. We keep going. And I really hope that they revamp the magic system. Magic in Dark Souls is interesting in a technical aspect, but it really lacks interesting things, right? If you're doing Soul Arrow, Great Soul Arrow, Heavy Soul Arrow, Great Heavy Soul Arrow, you need to increase your originality, right? On the technical side, though, it is interesting from a stat standpoint to figure out which Soul Arrow fits your build or that you want, because like the how does it work? The higher damaging ones they deplete your stamina a lot quicker, and like there's like ones that do more stagger, and like they're like heavier when they hit. That is interesting. So choosing which granularity option you want is interesting. Not having a wide variety of spells is not interesting, because how many sorceries are just a projectile? That's like half the sorceries. Dart, there's like several dart spells, several arrow spells, several like soul spear spells. Even like the soul stream is like this, like a beam. It's different, obviously, but I want to see first. We're seeing some proper AOE. Good. There is no true. There is some. There's not really any proper AOE spells that rain and you can like zone out enemies or players. It doesn't exist in the game, which is a huge loss of like strategical like decision making in combat. The best I can think of is like Pestilent Mist or like the Frost spell in Dark Souls 3. I want to see spells like that create creative use. So one of my favorite playthroughs in Dark Souls 3, I used invisibility and a couple little sorceries and like miracles and stuff. Anyway, invisibility, I didn't realize how many ways you could play with invisibility, and it wasn't until I was goofing around and tinkering with it. Add skills like make barriers. Like here's a barrier of light, you can't walk through it. You know, no one can, or maybe you can shoot through it, but enemies, you can shoot like a spell through it, but you can't shoot physical projectiles, and like you can't walk through it. Add levitation. Add things that just don't have like obvious use until you kind of play with it. You know, then you start to think of like creative ways to combine it with attacks, or better yet, you use certain spells, and then your friends you're playing with or your spirits that you're using can synergize with the spells that simply aren't damage, although some may be damage. And then here, this is like legit like a dragon slayer armor heavy attack where he blocks it and it's like an instant guard break. You don't block an attack like that unless you got like a giant freaking shield. And a little enchanted knight that's not what it's all about. How much do you want to bet this is a boss weapon from Godric? Oh my gosh, right? You take the dragon off his arm. Give me that freaking thing. I'm gonna put this sock puppet on my arm. Bleh. Again, red lightning, similar to the big dragon that we saw, where it grabs lightning out of the air, stands on the ground. Impressive spell, and so on. I think, oh my gosh, I think this is the structure. Hold on a second. I think this structure here, it can't be. That's the big tree, isn't it? What I was going to say is, maybe it is. Crap, where did I see that at? Here. Is it this structure here? No, that's not right. Because these trees don't have glowing, like, centers. It's just the leaves or whatever. Right? This person, it's like fairly close to the giant tree. We got some kind of, like, ruined cathedral here. A cemetery, a church and a cemetery. I love ruins like this, and look how creative they are with like the gravestone placements. They're like kind of, if you think back into Dark Souls 3 in the Cemetery of Ash, the gravestones are placed in such an interesting way. It's like they're an audience watching the player almost, and they're just, because when you see a cemetery, it's just like a grid of like, here's one grave, here's the next grave, here's the next grave, and they don't do that. They put them all over the place, and they're literally jetting out of the wall. It's like, what is this? It's interesting to see this sort of thing. And oh, they're platforms. And we see more down here. We see more down here. Something's up here. You're going down. You're going somewhere spooky. I'm convinced the mountain can't take damage. That's fall damage. That's fall damage right there. I'm sure of it. You just walk right in, baby. They don't show any combat from the skeletons. I almost like this dungeon before he brings his torch out. Look at the colors. There's so much more mood in this shot right here. And when he brings the torch out, there's just so much orange. It's just like everything's orange. It's like we're on fire.
Catacombs, caves, mines, and
it's not a catacomb. It's a catacomb. He just set up himself. This exactly. They have these candles everywhere in Dark Souls 3. Things like that.
Other dungeons can be found while out exploring the world.
The same goofy animation, no fighting. I wonder how they cut it. They literally cut that frame, because that enemy just finished that animation, right? My head's on, and he's gonna freak out at that moment because the skeletons can be pretty fast. Let's be honest.
These dungeons each hold their own secrets, from hidden treasures to fearsome bosses.
Traps are an interesting addition. I like it. I wonder if the traps could be procedural. This would be really cool. I've not played Bloodborne. The Chalice dungeons, I've heard mixed feelings on that. People like it, people hate it. I think they were procedural. I want to see a Souls formula game in a procedural environment. That would be interesting. Fearsome bosses. I think that this is going to be the optional content where you're getting the real challenge. This is where you're going to find your Sister Fridas and your Medirs, I think. That's my personal thought. Nameless Kings. Material right here. We go here. That's something you can harvest for sure. You know. If you look at the trailer, you find those things like that all over the place. They're just skipping. It's intentional. Here's the thing. Hot take. I'm not a fan of illusory walls. You want to know why? Because when you run through the game, everyone just marks with messages, so you always know where they are. It's like this isn't really adding anything to my playthrough. All I'm doing is just striking where the message that says illusory wall. If it says there's no illusion, I strike it. If it says there's an illusion and there's not, I still strike it. If there's an illusion, I strike it. So I'm always striking it, right? Like it's like there's not really anything that compelling here. This is a legacy idea from like the original games they made. See how much better the color is when he takes his torch off? Look at this. Everything's orange. And then we can see the actual moody colors they put in. It's so much easier on the eyes too. Torch goes away. Oh, nice. Mysterious blue glow. They got the ambient occlusion and the soft lights. They have the accents with the candles, and it just looks good. This chest is glowing. I didn't notice that before. Yeah, I wonder if that denotes how big the treasure is. Chain, you're good. You're good. I'd still hit it. Literally. Not in that way. I mean, I'd strike it. But I would still strike it. Just because it's a good habit. Mimic checkpoints. That's all I'm saying. Now, they pick up the item here, and there's no UI. I bet it's a little, like, notice in the corner, like a boop, you got this thing. Doesn't need to be like this. Bum, ba, ba, da, ba. It doesn't need to be like that. It's just, you get it. And you can disable that, and you just keep going. That's my assumption. That's why we see a clean UI here in the presentation. Oh, hello. We're here. Oh my gosh.
Which connects seamlessly with the surrounding Limgrave region. A large-scale dungeon which
Limgrave region. They have regions.
connects seamlessly with
This is a cool castle. I kind of want to see it whenever it's like not so dilapidated.
the surrounding Limgrave region.
Hey, I have a secret. You can go. Don't go in the front gate. It's dangerous. All right, I'm gonna go to the front gate. See you later. There's an easy webcomic here. All right. Tarnished goes out. Tarnished comes in. He says, "Hey, front gate's rigged. Don't go that way. Go this way." Tarnished goes, "You got it," and then walks out to the front gate, and then comes walking back in the next panel with like all these arrows in him, and going, chucking his asses, going, "I'm gonna take that back road now." What was his mistake? Veterans of Souls, what was his mistake? When you walk into a new area, first you get your spyglass out and you're going, "What's that over there? What's that over there?" And then when you walk in, you hold your freaking shield up. Classic mistake. This is interesting. Not hard to miss the first attack, but if you get hit by it, is it a true combo for the following 3 attacks? Could be a strong read attack against players. That is a stance breaking thing. If you hit an enemy hard enough, you break their stance. Is that kind of like the posture mechanic in Sekiro? Watch him right here. He blocks the attack. He brings his sword down and he runs his fingers along the blade to draw blood. See that? On the character. And then he hits with the sword attack. It does like this big attack. That's got to be a weapon skill, weapon art, whatever they call it. I don't know what they're calling this game. I imagine like a gem that you insert to an item, to a weapon. You have this skill, like this is the blood skill. If I put it into the sword, it does this effect. And this is the summon phantom skeleton skill we saw earlier. I put it into the axe and it does this, and so on. That's what I imagine it's like. It's also worth noting here that the combat, this is hard to tell. Is this an early area in the game? I don't think, this is one of the demigods, right? I have a lot of thoughts in my head right now. You come to the demigod. It should be a challenging dungeon. These enemies are not that threatening. They're not that fast. See how long his recovery time is? He comes in with a solid thrust. Solid thrust. Boop. Blocked by the player without a shield. And then he simply pulls his thing back slowly with plenty of time for the player to react. and charge up presumably a heavy attack or use some kind of thrust weapon art. And so this is slow. Does that mean that the content in general is easier? I don't think so, because we've seen some more challenging content. Is this the start of the dungeon where it's easy and you fight harder things later? Maybe, because there's 6 demigods. Each time you fight and kill a demigod, it strengthens the rest of the demigods. Because they're all vying for the same kind of golden nobility and golden power and stuff. And that lordship, or that right to that lordship. Maybe when you kill a demigod, it strengthens the other ones. And so if this was the 6th demigod you're going to fight, these guys would be like insane. You know what I mean? That could be a thing. Is that the weapon skill that we saw earlier? Where was that at? Right here.
Ranks, such as when attacking from above.
Similar wind effect, right? Do we see it here? Oops, too far. Whoosh. I'd say maybe you. What's the name of the castle? Stormvale, right? Is it Stormvale? Wind effect? It makes sense. Stormvale. Oh my gosh, you know?
Extra care should be taken when moving through dungeons, as visibility and terrain differ from when in the open. We hope players enjoy getting a feel.
The torch is a little too bright. I really do think that. Watch out for the backstab. Oh geez, it's over, baby. Look at that freaking thing. Oh man, this we saw this like limb thing in the gameplay trailer a little while back. Yeah. That's interesting too. Got an NPC here or somebody. Maybe that's a Tarnished who's failed. Because one of the NPCs in this preview says that the Tarnish are harvested for grafting. I still think that that Godric guy, he what he does is he like absorbs power by taking limbs and like taking people's strength and like in some kind of sense like that. I like the crouching sneaking. That's fun in Sekiro. I like to do that all the time. It's fun. And we're going through the dungeon. This is the guy who says the grafting thing. This is ridiculously Roger, whatever his name is. Some mini bosses, perhaps, or just maybe those are more advanced enemies. Got the guy with the eagle here. Oh, it's the same guy, I think. So maybe you slay the eagle or chase it off. Maybe you can throw a Pokeball at it and capture it for a summon. Golden.
In this next boss fight, we challenge one of the.
Right, so we know what the rest of this is all about. We see this, and we see this. He goes, OMG, Neil. What's hanging out his situation here? You got like a blade hanging out here, like another foot. Not particularly efficient. This like is all deformed here. This foot over here looks good. Over here, it's deformed. So this movement is what you'd expect from a FromSoft game. So he just goes and he just starts somersaulting around the area, and you can't tell what he's doing, right? He's just like, all right, watch this. Can you tell if any part of that was an attack? You don't have a clue. You know it's not an attack because you don't take damage from it, but you don't know. And there's like a slice right there. Help me out. There goes the spirit summon. he died with the death sound. Did you notice the death sound? There it is. That's the slice sound they use for almost every death in the game. Any of these games. This is a classic situation here. It's like you see the swings come out, right? They telegraph pretty well. In this last one, they hold it a little bit longer. They come down a little too fast, in my opinion. But that's the sort of move you got to memorize. You can't really react to it super well. He does the same. So when he goes to phase 2 or whatever this is, the rolling attack gets more robust with fire and stuff. And you know that like this right here is if you like dodge that and you think he's coming in there, you do a premature roll and then suddenly bam. Actually, they show that in right there. That's a premature roll. That's like a Nameless King roll. It's like, oh, I rolled just a hair too early and I got blasted. That's about it. I think I'm done now. It's what you expected. It's what you wanted. I think they're going to lower the barrier to entry a little bit. I hope they have enough. I don't know about the crafting. I want to know more details about that. I want to know more about the challenge and like some of the systems and that sort of thing. We're not going to know about that for a little while. I have a few hot takes too. I told one earlier. One of them is I hope they revamp New Game Plus. New Game Plus is a weak feature in FromSoft games because it's basically like the same. It's basically the same game, just done again, and you are fighting the same enemies, fighting the same bosses. They just stat bump the enemies. And at this point, Dark Souls 2 players go, yeah, well, Dark Souls 2's got the red enemies and stuff. It's like, okay, but that's not very good, right? Your expectations are so low that when they reuse the enemies and color them red, bump their stats higher, you think it's good. That's not good. It's just better than nothing. I would prefer there to be no New Game Plus and have proper endgame content, or only one New Game Plus where it really ups the difficulty a lot just for one playthrough. This is a situation where less is better. And refining it is better. And they have New Game Plus in the game because you need it. You don't need it, but they put it in there because they could, and it's better than nothing. But it's only a little bit better than nothing. I would also prefer a meta level to be cap. I think that they should have a meta level of cap, like it's about 125 to 135 in Dark Souls 3. Whatever that number is, that should be a level cap. And I think that you should be able to not spend every point possible, because what happens is if every character can level up every attribute to the same amount, you reach a singularity of characters, right? Everyone becomes the same. I don't want that. I want there to be the diversity. I chose this many points in faith and strength and whatever, and it's different from this intelligence and dexterity, and this guy over here is doing whatever. I want that diversity. I don't want to be leading to the same, area in terms of stats. And that's about it. So, yeah. Obviously super excited, but those are more thoughts I wanted to share, and this is the end of the video. We're done.